Welcome back, one and all, to another edition of previews and predictions from the Say What You Like Sports podcast. And in this episode, we are going to get into one of the funner divisions to debate about, the AFC West. Now, in this division, there's two things you can always count on. One, competitiveness, and the other, bitter rivalry games. I mean, to me, this is the one division that I can make a case for any one of these four teams to finish anywhere from first place to last place. There's only one thing for sure to me, and that's this division is going to be fun to watch this year. In this division, I'm predicting two separate competitions. I'm predicting one competition between two teams for third place, and the other two teams are going to be vying for the division crown. Now, one of the teams I expect to be competing for a third place finish is the Denver Broncos, but I'm sure John Elway would disagree with me. Play the clip.
You know, I think we had a great offseason. I think the people that we added through the draft will help us. Obviously, in free agency, we're a better football team. We have some better depth. I think Case is a big part of that, and the veteran leadership that we needed at that position. So feel good about that. I know, obviously, we have to all come together, especially on the offensive side. It's about getting continuity in the offensive line, as well as the young wide receivers getting up to speed, as well as the young running back. So, you know, offensively, I'm excited about it, especially with Case pulling the trigger.
So, Broncos fans, you heard it from the GM himself's mouth. Case Keenum is the X factor for the 2018 Broncos. Now, if they get the 2017 Vikings version of Case Keenum, I think the Broncos can win this division. But if they get the 2016 Rams Case Keenum, I think there's a good chance they finish last for the second season in a row. But look, if Case Keenum plays well and gives them that stability that, Trevor Siemian really failed to give this team the last couple of years, then the offense should do just fine. I mean, they have the necessary weapons around the quarterback. You got the veteran wide receivers in Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. And also, don't forget last year's 5th-round pick, tight end Jake Butt. He's returning from IR to help with the inside passing game. But John Elway didn't seem too concerned about his defense. But then again, why should he be, right? Because he's got pass rushers galore. You're talking about Von Miller. You're talking about Shane Ray. And now they pick up first-round pick Bradley Chubb. So that pass rush is amongst the league's best, if not the league's best. So although even Elway himself was stating how important it's going to be for Keenum to really step it up for that offense, he didn't sound at all concerned. And pass rushers like that on the roster is probably the biggest reason why. But then you get to the back end of that defense. You got the defense formerly known as the no-fly zone that helped win the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. But now they're missing TJ Ward and they're missing Aqib Talib. And with that pass rush, I think Chris Harris and Bradley Roby should be able to make their plays even with all the losses. So that defensive backfield should be A-okay as long as that pass rush is stepping it up. The best case scenario for this team is Case Keenum is going to stabilize the offense. The offense isn't going to work against the defense. That offense turned the ball over a lot and put that defense in some bad situations last season. That can't happen again. So if that happens, the Broncos can be another worst to first type of team. Now, the worst case scenario is, you get that 2016 Rams version of Case Keenum and you still don't have a solution at quarterback. You still turn the ball over way too much. You still put that defense in bad positions and you finish fourth again for the second time in a row. Now, the X factor for the next team in the AFC West just so happens to be a head coach who's going to need to reestablish himself in the league quickly in order to compete for the division crown in year one.
I think I have to be different because the rules are different. There's a lot of things that have changed. The amount of time that you can spend with the players in the offseason on the practice field. And maybe today's players are a little bit different than they were. I want to communicate. I want to put the phones down. I want man-to-man, face-to-face communication. I'm looking for passionate people that love football, that really want to deliver for Oakland, that love the Raiders, and that will do anything within the rules to win.
There he is, the coach of the Raider Nation, John Gruden. I mean, Raider Nation, they always have high hopes for this team every single season. But now that the coach, affectionately nicknamed Chucky, is back in the black hole, expectations are going to be at an all-time high. And why not, right? Because in 2016, this team was 12-4 behind an MVP candidate in Derek Carr. They have a potent offensive line. You got Amari Cooper at the wideout position. You got Khalil Mack leading the defense. You add beast mode. You add Chucky back into the fold. And why shouldn't Raider Nation expect to see another 12-4 season? Well, for one, as you heard straight from Coach Gruden's mouth, there's going to be an adjustment period. Must I remind Raider Nation out there that he's been out of the league for just about a decade. And also, if you can remember that far back, it didn't end up too well for Gruden back in Tampa Bay, am I not right? But if Gruden can get the veterans to really buy into his system, I can see a successful year one for Gruden. I mean, there's several talented veterans on this roster. You got Lynch. You got Jordy Nelson. Martavius Bryant over from Pittsburgh. They picked up Doug Martin over from Tampa. He's a strong runner. You got the linebacker Derek Johnson from Kansas City. So they got the veteran experience on this team, and if they buy into Gruden's system, I think there's a chance for some early success here. However, I cannot help but be concerned with the defense while Khalil Mack continues to hold out. It's just not a good look. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's talent outside of Mack on that defense. They picked up Maurice Hurst in the draft. You got Mario Edwards Jr. You got Garyon Conley in the 2017 first round. But, without Mack, you just don't have the engine to pull that truck on defense. And make no mistake, Khalil Mack might not be just the best defender for the Raiders, but you can make a case he's the best defender in the entire league. So they have to, absolutely have to, get that issue resolved ASAP in order to compete in 2018. Now, the best case scenario for the Raiders this year is Gruden just proves that he still got it. He stepped away from the game for 9 years, and he comes back with the vengeance and leads Raider Nation to another 12-4 season and a division crown. Everybody's happy. Now, the worst case scenario is, hey, this roster is a lot closer to last season's record than it was the previous year's season record, and Gruden continues to struggle, adapting himself back into today's NFL game. And hey, the man's got a 10-year contract, so no rush for him, right? Now, me personally, I don't think the 2018 Raiders are the 12-4 team they were in 2016, but I don't think they're the 6-10 team from last year either. I see them probably somewhere in the middle. I can see an 8-8-ish type finish. I see them beating out the Broncos for third place, but I don't see them beating out the Chiefs or the Chargers.
Well, I just think every year as a competitor, you believe you got a chance to be really good, and you never take the field going, I don't think we can win the game. I mean, I've never felt that in 200 games. But there are times when you just know, in this time of the year in the offseason, looking at the roster, looking at your teammates and going, we have the makeup, we have the pieces to really do something special and to make a championship run. And I just feel we're in a place now, we have a window here where you feel like, hey, we have all the pieces, now it's a matter of us going to do it.
On paper, this is easily the most talented roster in the division, arguably the most talented team in the league. Many of the NFL analysts that I'm watching are picking the Chargers to win this division and claim a first-round bye. But, as Phillip Rivers was saying, they got to go out there on the field and just do it. And with that being said, that's my biggest concern with these LA Chargers, staying on the field. This team has a long history of their most talented players missing significant amounts of time. Currently, as of week 2 in the preseason, here's a list of players that have already went down for the season on IR. Hunter Henry, who was the projected starting tight end, tore his ACL on the first day of OTAs. And not long after that, second string tight end Austin Roberts does the same thing. Jason Verrett, the cornerback, tore his Achilles during a conditioning test. And this dude's only played 25 games since being drafted in 2014. 25 games since 2014. That is injury prone. If that's not injury prone, I don't know what is. Then the Chargers pick up Jalen Watkins, the defensive back from Philadelphia. He's a Super Bowl champ. And he goes and he tears his ACL. So even just here, very early on in the preseason, lots of injuries for these Chargers. And they've had a long history of it. Melvin Gordon, the talented running back, is another injury-prone player. Keenan Allen often has trouble staying healthy. Even on that offensive line, you got Okung, you got Lamp, they're injury-prone. Denzel Perriman, the middle linebacker, another injury-prone player. But these players are all talented. But injuries aside, if we can assume good health from here on out, this team will find a way to win this division. Straight up, no problem. Because Phillip Rivers leads the way, and he's the most dependable player on this roster. So, if players like a Melvin Ingram, a Keenan Allen, a Mike Williams can stay healthy and be consistent, just like old Phillip, this offense is going to flourish in 2018. But on defense, this team is also stacked. Leading the way is not just the best pass rushing duo in the league, but probably the best duo since Sean Merriman and Sean Phillips were on the roster for the Chargers. That's right. I'm talking about the duo of Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. And the talent doesn't just end there. You got Chris McCain, who had 5 sacks last season, Corey Luget, who is facing a 4-game suspension for PEDs, but you got Brandon Mebane plugging up the middle. This D-line, again, it's stacked. At middle linebacker, I mentioned Denzel Perriman. He is the Sean Lee of the AFC because when he's playing, this team allows only 107 yards rushing. But when he's not playing, the team then averages 145 yards in the 15 games he's missed. 15 games, that's a whole season this dude's missed. So he's the Sean Lee of the AFC. When he's there, hey, this defense is clicking. But when he's not, it's a whole different story. And health is, again, a concern here. First-round draft pick, safety, Derwin James out of Florida State. He might just be the steal of the draft. And I think they can use all the help they can get because these DBs, again, they're injury-prone. So I think he's the steal of the draft. If he can stay healthy, I think they'll be A-okay on the back end. And when you got that dangerous pass rush like the Los Angeles Chargers have, hey, you don't have to cover for long back there. Now, the best case scenario for the Chargers is they stay healthy and they take advantage of the Chiefs and Broncos who are switching quarterbacks. And you take advantage of the Raiders who are switching coaches. So that's the key for success for these Chargers. Now, worst case scenario is, hey, you start to realize Phillip Rivers, he's getting a little long in the tooth, he's aging rather quickly, and injuries hit like they seemingly always do. They start off slow and somehow find themselves out of the playoffs once again. Now, ultimately, I see injuries costing this team the division crown. The health for the Los Angeles Chargers has just been way too inconsistent. And speaking of consistency, play the clip.
You know, me and Pat definitely have a great bond, and I feel like he's going to do great because he definitely already has a leader role, and he's just able to go out there and make some big plays. And you know, I'm excited to see him get out there. He just going in there, you know, with confidence, you know, talking to everybody, making the calls, and just staying on top of things. And, you know, you can see he really wants to win and, you know, be a good quarterback. Pretty much getting a ring, that's what drives me. You know, we came up short in the playoffs again, and I'm just trying to go out there and do whatever I can to get better to, you know, help the team.
Now, the X factor for the 2018 Chiefs, without a doubt, is Pat Mahomes, because he, without a shadow of a doubt, will make the Chiefs' offense sink or swim in 2018. Now, on one hand, you should expect more turnovers than you've seen during the Alex Smith era. But on the other hand, you should see a lot more big plays down the field. So, for years, Kansas City fans have been wanting to see more risk-taking, less conservativeness in the play calling. And that's what you're going to get in 2018. So like I was talking about this offense a bit, Mahomes is going to have all the ammo he needs for that cannon of an arm that he's got. He's got Kareem Hunt at the running back spot, who led the league in rushing last year. And he's got two big play wide receivers in Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill. You add that up with who in my opinion is the best tight end in the game today, Travis Kelce. And you have the ammo at just about every skill position group. On defense, the Chiefs lose Marcus Peters, and although the rumors was he was difficult to coach, he was without a doubt a huge playmaker, and that's going to be missed for sure. But returning from injury is another huge playmaker in the safety Eric Berry. Now, the Chiefs also lost 2 longtime defensive cornerstones in Tamba Ali and Derek Johnson, but again, they do a fair game in getting the replacements, and they sign the reliable, albeit probably a little bit overpriced linebacker in Anthony Hitchens. He's going to help carry that load at the linebacker spot in 2018. This defense, what they're going to need is for players like Dee Ford and Justin Houston to come back and be 100% in order to keep up with the other defenses in the AFC West. The AFC West across the board has some mean pass rushers. So if you don't have Justin Houston or Dee Ford 100% healthy, they're not going to be able to rush the passer like the other 3 teams can. The reason I'm predicting the Chiefs to win the West, it's pretty simple. It's consistency, especially at the head coaching spot. Andy Reid isn't a marquee name, but he's a long-time, consistent winner. He's coached up big-armed young quarterbacks before, and he's made the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years. And here's a last little stat to back up my prediction for the Chiefs winning the division crown. The Chiefs have won 16 of their last 17 AFC West opponents. Chew on that one. I got the Chiefs taking the AFC West, but it ain't gonna be easy. But one thing's for sure, it's gonna be fun to watch.